This video is sponsored by HelloFresh. Oh, it was just my 4-inch fangs. They turned into molars. Ah, very devastating. Not at all underwhelming. And now I won't cut my own chin when I eat food. Ah! Oh my god! Hotel Transylvania 4 is only now over a year old, so I'm not late at this. Hotel Transylvania 4 is. Now, I was supposed to cover this last year, but then they delayed the movie out to January. Who watches a spooky movie in January? And then last Halloween, I tried again, and I missed it. So, apparently I'm the kind of schmuck who watches spooky movies in January. And all because Sony sold distribution rights to Amazon. Well, anyway, now it is 1 year on, so let's hopefully get into the last installment of this franchise, shall we? This is the terrible Hotel Transylvania 4 Transformania, with the plot of a cliché TV episode somehow ballooned into a movie. We begin in another flashback opener.
I see the crystal raindrops fall.
And it's right into a pop song that's somehow sung in like 1902. But it shows a young Mavis and her connection with her father in the early days of the hotel as she grows more and more in their dance before we reach the hotel's 125th anniversary. And now Johnny's in the picture.
Just the three of us.
Hey, at least the song choice is thematic. And the film continues to do its thing where people move in the most extreme poses possible, whilst the plot is kind of that same one we've had in every movie. Let's see where this goes next.
Very fine and...
Oh! Very Phineas. I don't get it, do you? Oh, Jesus Christ, this is madness. And yet, the color effects are really nice with the glow-in-the-dark aesthetic, as well as all the fire lighting as well. Visually, it's all so stunning, but overstimulating-wise... yeah, it's very that. What a cacophony. So Drac freezes time to avoid certain death.
Johnny did all of this for you. He was trying to make this day special.
Apparently, after 3 full films of being next to Johnny, Mavis too has now become dumb as bricks. How disappointing. And so, Drac turns everything around and has a break outside.
Yoo-hoo! You ready for your big speech, Honey Fangs?
Oh yeah, she's now part of the roster too. I forget every movie likes to add like 17 new characters into the ensemble. Anyway, while Drac begins wildly emoting at every other word in a cliché monologue, Erica, that's her name, then blurts out the word...
Retire. You retire. You retire.
Retire?
To which Drac starts thinking about the thought of it, and turns around to say...
Everything has to be perfect when I finally give the hotel to Mavis.
What?
What? Is this a surprise, Mavis? Who else is gonna do it? Your dead mother? The only question you should really be asking is why is Drac retiring when he lives so long? Your granddad's still kicking around for some reason. And so after eavesdropping it all, Mavis goes on to tell Johnny the good news as well, and he's excited. You can see it. By the way, looking for an easy way to eat well and save money this year? Cut back on expensive takeout and delivery and get started with HelloFresh. You'll love how fast, easy, and affordable it'll be to create restaurant-quality meals in your own kitchen. And let's be honest, you got a lot of mouths to feed, Mavis. Now, HelloFresh is a brand I have quite an extended history with, so I can personally vouch for its quality, as I have months and months worth of recipes I've collected over time. Look at all this stuff even I have been able to cook with my own 2 hands. Use my link or go to hellofresh.com and use code POGDAZFEB65 for 65% off your first meal plus free shipping. And it's a great way to support the channel directly, as this link is a live tracker. Once you click, my description will live update to count up purchases. It's only a little intimidating. Fast and fresh recipes, HelloFresh's latest line of meals featuring robust flavors and filling portions, are ready in less than 15 minutes. Huh, I mean, it must be a lot better than whatever schmuck you're serving at this table, am I right? Enjoy taste and quality done quick with recipes like falafel power bowls, seared steak and potatoes and béarnaise sauce, or Southwest pork and bean burritos. We all want to save money this time of year, and with HelloFresh, you can save money all year round. In fact, HelloFresh is cheaper than grocery shopping and 25% cheaper than takeout. So come use my link and code to turn a 3-meal box for 2 into just about a tenner. Thank you to HelloFresh again for sponsoring us, and back to the video. Only for him to turn around and blurt out for the first time that he doesn't really feel like part of the family.
I mean, it feels like I am, but not really.
Which almost shows a hint of that deeper wisdom he had in the first movie, but let's be honest, this perspective is just coming out of nowhere to fuel the plot, as Johnny felt nothing like this in HT 2 or 3. So he goes to flather it off on a walk, and then exposes the secret immediately to Drac, who cannot stomach the idea of a hotel Johnny. So he gives Johnny the lie that he can't legally pass the hotel onto a non-monster, and now has to announce something original now that he's on the spot.
Oh, you've got to announce something.
And the camera is pretty nice, with it tracked onto his body. The animation behind this movie and the directorial choices are still seriously stellar. It's really frustrating, honestly.
Expand! Yes! We are expanding the hotel.
What?
And so he gets out of it, and the party resumes.
Take it away, Blobby.
Oh, dance parties. I hate dance parties. Why have animated movies always got dance parties these days? Where is your child from the last movie, Blobby? Is that our only canonical death? Are you a bad father, Blobby? And so the story beats are exactly as you can predict. Whilst the crew of monsters dance away in the background, Drac bumps into Erica and claims he cannot hear her over the music and dances away. Only to bump into Mavis now, and do the exact same thing back and forth. You know, with cliches like this, the movie just writes itself. And then there's Johnny in the middle.
So, you want to become a monster, huh?
And you can guess where this plotline 2 goes now. Though first, I really like Van Helsing's laboratory, being a complete maze of pigeonholes that only he can fit into with his sporadic robot body. Genuinely a lot of fun to play with. And then Johnny gets hit with a monster gun.
Ugh, I don't feel so good. No.
Why did it start from there? You don't think this was intentional, do you? Oh no. And so a few smear frames later that are somehow not as extreme as just talking, Johnny becomes a monster. Uh-oh. Nice. And a really nice spin on the idea. If Johnny is a genuine wild monster, then it's like, how do the rest of the monsters try to calm him down and incorporate it into the group or something like that? So then back to Drac, and he's still avoiding the other girls, only to magically hear the disruptions downstairs and come to investigate himself, creeping into Van Helsing's room and confronting this new Johnny Beast.
Hey, Drac, what's up?
Oh, so he's not wild at all. It's just Johnny still with another skin. Great. And now he's dying to show Mavis, which will expose Drac. So he chases Johnny down the halls with the human setting on, and naturally Johnny is running headfirst into every wall for maximum property damage because he doesn't have any brain cells up there anyway.
I better be careful. There are monsters everywhere.
And finally, after this whole chase sequence somehow goes on for a whole 2.5 minutes, it finally comes around with...
Oh no.
He never hit a mirror or anything, just a particularly shiny elevator. And considering he's now human, that's death. That's definitely death. And so the core friends come out to review the crash site. Thankfully, Drac wasn't there to be bloody meteor smashed by Johnny into the concrete. He's up there, where we can't see his details. And when we do... Oh, it was just my 4-inch fangs. They turned into molars. Ah, very devastating. Not at all underwhelming. And now I won't cut my own chin when I eat food. Ah! Oh my god! I mean, it's not that different. And of course, the crystal rod thing is out of juice now, and Drac wants to hide from Mavis. Time to see Van Helsing, who can direct them to a new crystal.
So South America?
So after the third movie already had us traveling outside our usual means, now we're doing it again with just Drac and Johnny. But hey, at least they remember the one thing that was smart about Johnny from the first movie.
I was there once spelunking with some Norwegian wrestlers. We can just pop down there and get a new one.
Except now, it's not really wisdom. Stupidity has made its way into his lore. Alright. Meanwhile, the core friend group learn about it through text.
I just sent him a gift.
I don't know if I want to say this is outdated or on point, since this is how middle-aged people do still text, in outdated ways. Anyway, they all drink a toast, and Blobby's involved too. And you'll never guess where this is going. Yes, because in Drac's chasing escapades earlier, he shot the ice statue and it all leaked into the punch. Everyone here's turning human too. You know, I heard there was also a good dose of controversy over Griffin's revealed design, as it seems awfully mocking to the anti-Semitic caricature, which is just awful on Hotel Trans's front. Though I also heard this guy gained sexy man status in 2021 when he was still invisible. Anyway, yikes. Everyone's ugly, Frank is not. Ha! That's hilarious! And Blobby becomes inanimate. Meanwhile, I guess fresh off of the few compliments that the third movie got, they've decided to bring back the Gremlins pilots again. Except this time, Drac is a human, so he's more scared of the hazards. He still seems pretty indestructible, being a cartoon, but it ends with him being flailed off the back of the plane. That's better. They had like 3 jokes left for this gimmick, so they had to drag it out somehow. As for Mavis, she is searching for her dad and comes across the speech that reveals Drac was gonna give her the hotel, and susses something is happening when she spots the kids in their hypnotized state. Another thing from that 2-minute chase sequence earlier. As for Drac and Johnny, they have arrived, and for the first time in all of his life, Drac is now able to experience the sun since it doesn't burn him anymore. Ah, what a magical moment, and he's running around blind for staring directly at it, twirling this way and that until Johnny saves him. Why do none of the humans comment on the fact there's a giant lizard monster now? And don't tell me it's because of the ending of Hotel 1. This is just lazy writing that they didn't want to address. And he accidentally breathes fire. Oop, it's the other monster plot, the other way around. Ugh. Time to move on and not address it for another 40 minutes. Now, back in Van Helsing's lair, we get to witness his monster hamster again. This thing was the test before Johnny was zapped, and now it's exploded to be even more beastly. An ominous sign, again shot with a pretty funky camera angle. I love how dramatic that cage piece comes off. And we're back to the jungle.
Don't worry, Drac. I've got an idea.
This is the worst commuting experience of my life. As a Brit, I desire nothing more than some personal space and some peace and quiet. And actually, this could be kind of nice as we see how Johnny interacts with strangers on his travels like he did back in the day. But instead, all the families here are silent, and again, are not going to address his form, which, by the way, is getting larger and larger. Weighing down the bus, so Johnny chooses to carry the bus itself. And Drac has been whittled down into the subject of nonsense pain humor instead. My favorite. Could have been a whole element of how humans are more fragile than vampires, so he's got to be careful. But no, middle-aged man just has to feel every neuron of pain. Back at the hotel, the core group of boys are trying to hide after their humanly revelations, only to end up in the foyer with Mavis and Erica and Eunice as well, of course. Only to almost get away until... because that's natural. And from there, not only does everybody immediately know what's going on with all the boys here, oh, werewolf wife Wanda is also here, and the kids. But also at some point, the whole road sequence with Johnny earlier was caught by the humans, who now videotaped it and sent it out to the news. But it's all so convenient for Mavis and Erica to spot on the TV that wasn't established earlier where Drac and Johnny are and what they look like now.
I was not supposed to say that out loud.
Well, I'm happy at least. I found my thumbnail. Now just add a big obnoxious. And there we go. And add a little guy over there. Because that's the trend. That's the theme. It works. Marketing. Where's my forehead? Hey, what do you think the odds are next time we see Drac he's going to be writhing in pain? Ah, that sounds about right. Oh, but also this time Johnny gives him a complete makeover. I don't know where he got the clothes, dunks Drax's entire coffin in the bag, and then runs on ahead. Cue the extreme montage of walk suffering, cutting through different locations, having nature hate Dracula at every turn, including that cliche hay fever sneezing joke being rained on for a gag and then it's suddenly not raining anymore, until finally the old man twists his ankle and falls down a hill. It's the one joke dragged along for 40 minutes so far, until eventually Drax's about to give up until they spot a body of water.
You gotta be extra careful with strange bodies of water.
Oh hey, a hint of Johnny intelligence. Of course, Drax still dives in and... You know, at this point, it's getting pretty sadistic, to be honest. And I always hated when cartoons did this. Made me feel sick as a kid. Genuinely. I have a childhood memory of feeling physically sick when hearing the Oggy and the Cockroaches theme tune, because that show went too far. And so, since Drax is ignoring his phone and Johnny isn't being called at all, the girls try to work out what's going on themselves.
It's not like there's a mad scientist just living in the basement. Oh.
And then they spot the whole hamster situation and trap him. I guess there's the action scene I was hoping for earlier. But they must now go catch up to Johnny as...
Turns out the ray's highly unstable. The transformation keeps mutating.
So off they go. But not before Drac has another scene of pain. Now it's mosquitoes, biting en masse until Johnny smacks him down with his big beastly claws. Oh, also Johnny is briefly unstable at the start, but they won't address that until the finale. They had an airship this entire time? And Van Helsing didn't want to mention it? Alright. This is Erica's blimp, and a real monster killer. Great for a handful of monster gags. And maybe an opportunity for emotional connection between her and Mavis? Probably not. And now they're immediately here. Of course, the place is massive, so there's no way to spot them in all of this.
I have just the thing.
How does a car help in this situation? This is the opposite of efficient or logical, but it's more room for more gags, as that's all this franchise is anyway. Sticks it in her hair, and that's it really. These other jokes don't really need the car element at all. Oh, but then that's good. Mavis uses her vampire powers to echolocate and eavesdrop on their voices. That's decent. You'd think the roaring car engine beneath her would be a crux. She just wanted to be on the ground, not blazing along it. And only now is Drac waking up again after being slapped unconscious, and finally, it looks like he can rest. Why didn't Johnny carry him at any point earlier if it was this easy? And where did all of Drac's stuff go? Regardless, the signal has now wiped out on the crystal, and they both drop off of a cliff. Only for Johnny to finally come to the realization that he can fly. He's had wings this entire time, and Drac is there to teach him. Good times! And now it's nighttime. I guess that whole car escapade wasn't really all that efficient after all. But anyway, Drac and Johnny are sitting by the campfire. It's time for their own heart-to-heart, whereby Johnny tells Drac to look for the positives in life, like the gooey insides of a marshmallow. Which just leads me to ask, why was Drac cooking a marshmallow in the first place if he didn't know the concept of the gooey goodness? And Drac turns around and explains the reason he's so on edge is because he's been looking after a daughter for all of these years, and the hotel was built to protect her. And before he can explain the lie he said earlier, of course, we get everyone else. Only for them to still reach the same topic of conversation as Drac's lie gets exposed in front of all of them now.
I panicked!
And lied?
To which Johnny gets upset, enlarges a little more, and stamps out a scene. It's all Dracula's fault. Again.
All you care about is your stupid hotel!
And so Mavis goes on to follow the giant Johnny, catching him at the very last possible moment, considering he's pushing on Godzilla proportions now, and he recognizes her.
Mavis?
My dad never should have lied to you!
Dracula!
Meanwhile, everyone else is on the boat, which was the car before, but now is not. The crystal is inside there, and Drac is haunted by Van Helsing's words earlier that escape is impossible. But the directing here is nice. And so begins the deadly entrance. Waterfalls, lava chutes, stalactites, close calls, and a sinking ship. You know, considering there was a hole in the boat that they couldn't plug, I was seriously expecting Blobby to come in clutch. After all, we saw how much he expands with water earlier. But no.
We found it.
And now Mavis is on the task to get Johnny over there.
Is he close?
Yep.
whilst everyone else is exploring the crystal cave. There's certainly a lot of crystals, ready for all sorts of funky directorial shots. Nice. Why couldn't this just be a TV episode with pizzazzy cinematography? And then, of course, Mavis is having her cliche run from the monster scene, which at first I was thinking, why doesn't she just fly higher to be out of the danger zone? But actually, they sort of explain it. The sun is coming up, so she has to stay in the canyon shade. Nice. And as Mavis reunites with her dad in there,
Oh, ouchie!
somewhat, the whole place comes crashing down from Johnny. Cue more gags. Blobby doing parkour while inanimate. Murray's not moving. Wayne has too many kids. But, and my personal favorite,
If he ruins my hair, I'm never gonna forgive him!
and Drac, after his big collapse, finally witnesses,
Is that?
The crystal!
to which Mavis grabs and equips it in 8 seconds flat. I guess when they don't want to drag something out, they really don't. And her final obstacle is sunlight itself as Godzilla Johnny keeps punching holes in the wall. Until...
Huh?
Hey, kiddo.
This is quite nice. Everyone now needs to be involved in blocking the sun for Mavis to take the shot. Or she could just shoot herself for a minute, to become human, of course, and then she wouldn't have to deal with the sunlight. Or literally anyone else could do it, no? But sure, she keeps on going, hurdle after hurdle, until...
Okay, Johnny, please still be in there. What?
Doesn't work, only for Dracula to immediately jump into action. Ooh. Well, I guess the hotel's yours, Mavis. Congratulations. Or in more kid-friendly fashion, it goes down like this.
You are the marshmallow!
Drac exposites that in not looking for positivity, he did not notice Johnny. The joy and energy he brings to his life and those around him. His life before was like a burned marshmallow, and he cracked it open for all to enjoy. And he is part of the family.
And I'm sorry it's taken me so long to say it.
And what nice composition still. And so...
So much of the good in my life is because of you.
Drac?
And as they hug it out, now they are shootable, and Mavis takes the shot. And so they blimp away. Everyone returns to their previous states. More gags ensue until we get our last heart-to-heart where...
Johnny, you're perfect, just the way you are.
And as for Dracula, to finally loop us round to the whole point of the story in the first place...
The hotel is...
Destroyed!
We've been ignoring that hamster this whole time, and that was the cause. Oh, well doesn't it kind of ruin the whole tension of the Johnny thing if even this thing doesn't have an immunity to being shot? I guess there never was a chance of running out of time, since this thing was transformed first and reverted later, right? Johnny just couldn't be shot for plot reasons. This franchise doesn't care. However, at least it's coming to a plausible end, as after all...
It's your hotel now.
It's time for that new chapter Drac's been thinking about, and he is retiring. Oh, and we're cutting to a year later from here? Okay.
We just made a couple of tiny adjustments.
Huh? What the? Why is everything a PNG now? No, not me too! What have you done? No! They chose to rebuild it exactly the same, except inside it's 2D. And it's got modern changes that is literally what Dracula devoutly feared at the start of the movie. So what does he have to say now? Just a shrug. Hee hee, hoo hoo. And that was the end of the Hotel Transylvania series. Right? I hope so. Gone with the Wind is any sense of logic. A funky looking cartoon, but shallow in the nicest of terms. For now, my name's been Dazz. You didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit. You know, I wasn't really expecting to be here in February of all months, but well, I wonder what else this Monsters Inc. dimensional door can do. If only I could open the damn thing.